This is She Goes Beyond, and I'm your host, Victoria Fregis. Here we're dedicated to changing the status quo and building a powerful community of women who can do it all. Who says you only have to be one thing? So grab your rod or your bow and tune in to the stories of women who love the same things that you do. You never know, you might just meet your next best friend. This guest is not afraid to do hard things. I'm talking firefighting, running chainsaws, spot, stalk, shoot, and packing out an elk bowl, and a lot of other things. We dive into the beautiful Colorado, fly fishing, tips on hunting elk and muleys, and a little on gardening. We also chat about making our own dog food and what it's like being a girl wanting to just make some friends in our 30s. Please welcome the holistic hunter, Lexi Quinn.
Well, Lexi, welcome to the pod.
Thanks.
Nice to have you. Let's just jump right into it. So, you're located in Michigan?
Michigan now, yeah. As of 2022, summer of
Okay.
20. Yep, I moved out here from Colorado. I was out there for 8-ish years, not directly because I was stationed all over the place in fire, so I was
Oh,
everywhere, but I technically lived in Colorado.
okay, wait, tell me more. Station
Um,
fire.
yeah, so I was a wildland firefighter for 9 years. So that was my career before marketing, actually.
What? Okay, where did you grow up? Wisconsin?
Yep.
Okay. What made you choose firefighting?
Honestly, it was one of those, I don't know how familiar people are with like volunteer fire departments, but
Mhm.
one of my buddies that I used to hunt with in high school was like, "Oh, I'm on a volunteer fire department. You should come." So I went when I was like 17 and it was fun. Got to hang out with the trucks and whatever. Thought it was cool. And then I'm like, your typical struggling high schooler, like, I don't know what to do with my life. Oh, firefighting seems fun. We'll do that. And it was kind of like I've always kind of been a tomboy anyways. I've always also been a pyro. So I'm like, yeah, let's go set stuff on fire. So I went to college for it. I started in Missouri, went there for a year and a half, and then I switched colleges and went to Fox Valley Tech in Wisconsin. Their accreditation system was just better. So I'm like a year out from graduation, and I had already been working at a fire department at the time. I think I was in Menasha, and I was living there doing that. So I did structure firefighting first for about 2, 3, well, about 4 years actually. Got my paramedic license as well. So I went to college for 5 to 6 years for this. And then there was some craziness with the degree because they wanted me to work as an intern, which basically means you work for free for a year.
Hmm.
And I'm like, well, I've already been working full time, so I don't really need that.
Yeah.
In order to weasel my way out of the internship, I had to take more courses
Hmm.
and ended up doing wildland. So we would go all over like the retention ditches and we would like burn those ponds that you see at like big businesses like factories and stuff. And then we would burn people's private properties and it's really fun. Like, yeah, let's work outside all day and set stuff on fire. Sounds great. So I ended up doing that and then switching to wildland. It was actually funny because Green Bay offered me a job paying like 90 a year. And I said no, not knowing what I was getting into. And then I ended up going to work for the Forest Service for like half that for the
Um,
next many, many years. It was fun though. It was very fun. Structure firefighting paramedic wasn't my jam. It's more like medical calls and car accidents than anything. And I just wasn't down for that. I wanted to like be outside and set stuff on fire. So I did wildland and it was awesome because I went from never seeing the mountains to now knowing many areas like the back of my hand. And you just get to see places and areas that nobody stepped foot in like 50 years
yeah.
and also it's on fire, so it's cool. Then I dove into that and became like really good with chainsaws when I used to be afraid of them. We slept on the ground. I worked with the same like 19 dudes for 8 months in a row because it was like the schedule was 2 weeks on, 2 days off, 2 weeks on, 2 days off for 7 straight months.
Holy.
Yeah, so no relationship. That's not a thing. And they, yeah, no relationships for me. That was like single for a very long time during that time frame until I met somebody who was also in fire, which is usually a no-no because they call it gov love. It's like
Mm,
not allowed. It's definitely not allowed with the people on your crew, which is fine because they become like your brothers, so it
yeah.
would be weird, but whatever. Anyways, we ended up both getting out of fire around like 2019. I'm not with that person anymore, but that was like 2019. We both got out.
Yeah.
Um, and that's when COVID happened and all that stuff. And I'm like very glad I wasn't working for the government at that time for obvious reasons. And then I met my fiance now on a mule deer hunting trip like a year and a half or so later after me and my ex broke up. And then he convinced me to move to Michigan. So
It has to be really good convincing to go from Colorado to Michigan, which I actually don't know Michigan at all. So is it, maybe it's beautiful, but Colorado is stunning.
I miss Colorado. I don't miss how expensive it is by
Yeah.
any means. And that's what honestly happened with a lot of people. A lot of natives left, and I was there for a long time. So between hunting tags being super cheap
Mm.
and the beautiful mountains, like it just got to a point where Colorado in general, you had 65,000 people move there in 2020 to the Denver area alone. And then at this time, that year and a half after I left fire, I was working full time with my own business, my media and marketing business. And it just became super saturated with photographers and super saturated. And this was all again during COVID. So between my media and marketing business, and then I was also working full time at Shields. I was the hunting shop manager of the Johnstown location, so I managed all of hunting for 2 years.
Mhm.
Colorado just got expensive, like taxes and rent, and it would take probably 3 hours just to take I-70 to get into the mountains where I used to hunt and fish. So just the traffic was crazy, the construction was crazy, the prices, it got to be too much. So I'm like, I was gonna go. It's funny because I was gonna move to Montana or Idaho to like Coeur d'Alene or gosh, what was that little town? Livingston, Montana.
Okay.
Love both those little areas. But then I met Joe, and Joe, his mountain man self, convinced me to move to Michigan.
Come on over to Michigan.
So still adapting for sure, but I'm used to the Midwest.
Yeah.
And I'm adapting. We're
Yeah.
getting
Yeah. We're
the,
getting there.
the winters are depressing. The fall
Yeah.
springs are depressing. At least it's sunny outside.
At least you grew up with all that, and it's like you said,
Yeah.
it's not all brand new.
The benefits is fishing, hunting, turkey hunting, whitetail hunting, like it's there. So if Michigan didn't have a ridiculous amount of deer and a ridiculous amount of turkeys and the ability to hunt bears, like you have better chances of drawing a bear tag here than Wisconsin.
Oh
I
yeah.
would hate it here.
Yeah.
Because it's very depressing most of the year. It's cloudy. That's what keeps me sane, I
Mhm.
would think. Yeah, definitely. I killed like 6 whitetails last year and it was so much fun.
Oh my gosh.
I haven't been able to whitetail hunt since I was a kid. The last time I went whitetail hunting, I was like 19 and I'm 31. So for that 8 years when I was out west, 8 or 9 years out west, I didn't get to hunt whitetails. It was all mule deer and elk and antelope, which is awesome. But you can't kill as many. Like you get one of each, one antelope tag if you draw, one elk tag if you draw, one mule deer tag if you draw, which is even harder to draw. But out here, you can kill I can kill 20 does and 2 bucks. It's awesome.
Jeez.
And I get to use a crossbow if I want to,
Oh wow.
which is even more fun, to be honest.
Michigan, what are you doing over there? Why are there so many deer?
I don't know. The population here is insane. Like I have no idea how or why or what, but
Yeah.
there's not as many bucks here. There's not as many big whitetails.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of does, and there's just a lot of deer in general.
Mm.
So I think because people don't shoot the does, that's why there's so many.
Oh yeah,
Because
of
everyone wants a big buck.
course.
Yeah.
Gotta fill the freezer though. You guys are
But there's
set a minute,
yeah.
huh? 6 deer.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, we have like 2 stand-up freezers and 2 deep freezers. Actually, yeah, that's about what we have. But we had to downsize because I have one whole freezer that's dedicated to non-meat related things.
Oh.
So we have a garden,
Oh yes,
a
yes.
very big garden. Yep. So this is getting into like the holistic homesteading side of me. We have a 1/4 acre that we live on. So we have a chicken coop that Joe built, and we have a giant garden. I don't know square footage. I'm not a math person, so it's just big.
Yeah.
We have like a vegetable garden slash flower garden, and then we have a smaller garden in the front, like on the side of our house, that's between us and the neighbors. And we just never did anything with it. It was just weeds. So last year we turned it into a huge tomato garden where I could do like 20 plants.
20 tomato plants?
Yeah, so I have like 500 tomatoes in my freezer right now, waiting for me to can and make salsa and all the things.
Oh
But
my
I still,
God.
So because we have so much of an extra abundance of this stuff, I started a farm stand last year that I sell like sourdough and jam and holistic things. Like I've got that tallow moisturizer that I make. I've got like fire cider, if you've ever heard of that.
No,
I make like tinctures of stuff because I grow my own herbs. So I sell all that out of the farm stand and then extra produce. So it's basically like a little mini everything.
I love that.
Yeah, so Joe built that for me too. So I'm very blessed to have ex home builder as a fiance because he builds, I show him stuff on Pinterest and he makes it for me.
Yeah, love that. Love that for you.
And he's great at it. He needs some creative direction, but other than that, he's great at it.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But it's fun. Like we have a lot of meat. So now this year I'm actually trying to getting into making homemade dog food because dog food's expensive and it's just kind of crappy.
Yeah, terrible for you.
So making dog food's easier and cheaper. Like I can just shoot 6 deer and have dog food for the year for cheap.
Hmm.
We'll see how he does with that. He's kind of a psycho and eats all his food in like 30 seconds. So we'll see how he integrates.
Yeah.
But I
Okay.
need him to live forever because I have a very unhealthy connection to my dog. So
Oh, I can feel that in my bones. How are you,
yeah,
what are you following to make your dog food? Like, are you, I want to step back. I know that you have to like cater to every specific dog, right? It has to be based on weight and like
yeah.
all
So
that stuff.
he's 80 pounds. So right now he gets like 4 cups of kibble.
Mhm.
So I think we can go because it's going to be more nutritious and more dense. I think we can switch to like 2 cups a day instead. So 1 cup in the morning, 1 cup in the afternoon. So we're going to use venison. I'm not going to use any type of grain
No.
because I just don't want to deal with like the glyphosate and all that stuff. We might revisit that. I'm not really sure, but a lot of people do like venison and rice. I actually used to do a lot of influencer work for a healthier dog food company and we ended up parting ways, but he wrote a really good book about dog nutrition and omegas and stuff like that. So it's kind of very similar to what we eat, honestly. They just have to get their omega 3s and 6s. They have to get their minerals and vitamins and some metals. So I kind of mix it up. It's venison, sweet potatoes. I have the whole recipe written down somewhere that I can actually send if you want.
Yeah, it'd be fun if you're
That
okay with
way people, yeah, I'll try to find a way to put it into a link for people because a lot of people want to start making dog food. And honestly, there's just a really great recipe out there that I found that you can share with people.
Yeah,
So I don't remember exactly what's in it if I'm being honest, but it's a really good one. It hits like all their nutritional requirements.
yeah. Yeah, you should definitely share that. I think that would be super interesting. I know I've brought up before. I actually looked into it called my farmer's dog or whatever, or the
Yeah,
farmer's.
similar.
Very expensive though. Very expensive.
Expensive.
And
Very
we have,
expensive, and honestly, like I get even more nerdy about it, where I just don't know what those vegetables have been sprayed with. I don't know if, like I have an organic garden, so I can't use any type of chemicals at all in my garden. Not even fertilizers, really. How I plant tomatoes is very interesting. But we use that like copper, where you use copper wire, and it's like an electromagnetic system around your garden.
okay.
And Michigan just has a ton of bugs. But if you plant certain things in certain areas, like marigolds and stuff, your pests are like not as bad.
Oh,
A little bit of that. It's a lot. I have no idea how I function most of the time because I'm doing so many things.
because your brain is like tomatoes, marigolds,
Yeah.
like
So this is me using my ADHD to my advantage instead of
yeah,
seeing it as a weakness. But I do need to slow down a little bit, which is why I'm doing the nervous system stuff.
yeah.
But it works. Like I haven't even planted my starters yet for this year, and I should have done them like a month ago. At least my peppers, because they take forever. So hopefully tomorrow I can get those planted. I was gonna do it today, didn't happen. Had many other things to do. But yeah, the garden, whatever.
Yeah. No, I
It'll
love
be
that. I love that you plant all the vegetables. What else are you planting? So tomatoes, peppers.
I have a huge like trellis that Joe built. It's like 12 feet long that I do pumpkins, watermelons, cucumbers, zucchini, tons of different pumpkins, tons of different melons. I have garlic, broccoli. I had like 150 pounds of carrots last year. I do some lettuce, blackberries, raspberries, grapes, potatoes, beans, because I can everything also. So not only do I garden, but I can everything. So I have like a
So
year's
I
supply.
I think you need to pack up and move to Minnesota so that you can be my neighbor because I do not have a green thumb, but I would love all of that stuff.
Yeah, I wish I had more people around me, like especially girls that love to do this stuff. My friends are spread all over. Like two of my best friends are in Wisconsin. One's in Texas, and the other one is in Colorado.
Oh,
So they're all in my wedding, but they're just everywhere. And I have a couple friends here now, but I'm still trying to meet people that do like things. So I actually went to like a women's night the other night with one of my fiance's friends' wives. And they were doing like a homestead, it was like a homestead girls' night where we made those cloth baskets out of rope. I don't know if you've ever seen those.
mhm.
It was cool. It was sewing. So I bought a sewing machine on Marketplace to make little bags for my sourdough.
Yeah.
Like linen, they're called bento bags, but like linen bento bags, so you don't have to put them in plastic or like a wood box where they get all moldy. So
Yeah.
I was gonna make linen bags, and I'm like, well, I haven't sewn since middle school when we did those family and consumer science courses.
Right.
I'm like, yes, I'm gonna go to this event, this women's night, just to get a refresh on this sewing machine that's been sitting in my front porch room for like 4 months because I found it on Marketplace. So now I know how to use that. Now I can make these bento bags
I love
eventually.
that.
Lady quilts too. So I ended up buying like a quilting kit from the thrift store
Mhm.
that eventually I'll make, but it's a wintry one, so I have till winter to make it. And my grandma and my great grandma, who are both still alive, are huge quilters. So I might try to get either them to teach me or to pass down their knowledge in sewing machines to me. But
Fun.
I don't think I need another hobby right now.
No, sounds like you have your hands full. Also, it's got to be tough. So you mentioned that you have a media marketing business and you do some photography, I think, right?
Yep.
So is that your full-time, are those your full-time jobs? Give us more into like that background. So, or you're not, it's hard to probably meet people because you're working from home, I'm assuming.
Yeah, very hard. Yeah, that is tough. It is hard to meet people that way. That's why I'm kind of like relying on Joe's friends' wives as friends or just people that I randomly meet.
Yeah.
I met a girl doing like a Facebook Marketplace class where she was hosting over Christmas, where a bunch of girls got together at a bar that they like sectioned off an area where we made homemade garlands for Christmas. So I met a lot of people that way. But that was like the only event that I've been to where I actually meet people. The other friend that I've met here that's like not related, that's doesn't have anything to do with Joe, was my friend Alex that I met while we were fly fishing. So that's actually funny because he was on one side of the river, I'm on the other side, and he was shouting at me saying, "Hey, do you have any tippet?" And I'm over here with like 12 things of tippet, and people make fun of me all the time because it's in all my fishing pictures because where my sling pouch sits, it's like right here, and everybody makes fun of me because I have like 12 things of tippet
Uh-huh.
that I definitely don't need, but I have them anyway. So I'm like, yeah, sure. So I grabbed one, tossed it to him, and then we were friends after that. It's funny.
I love that. Let's get into fly fishing because that's like one of the biggest things I wanted to talk to you about. I don't know anyone who fly fishes. Fly
Oh,
fish.
really?
Yeah, tell us about it. What is it like? How did you get into it? When did you start doing it? And then please explain what tip it is because I have no.
Oh, okay. So that would make sense, your facial expressions for sure. Okay, so when I lived in Colorado, I'm gonna try to remember how this happened. I had two friends that taught me how to fly fish. One was Josh, I'm pretty sure his name was Josh. And then my other friend Laurel. So both of them taught me how to fly fish in Livingston, Montana was the first place I ever went. And this was when I moved out west. I'm not kidding you. I lived, and I hate when this happens, and I'm sure this has happened to you, maybe not. I lived in like the fly fishing, not capital, but like a very awesome fly fishing location in Utah. I lived in Duchesne, Utah, right on the Green River. There's the Green River, Flaming Gorge, and Strawberry Reservoir. And then you have, I can't remember the name of the lake, but like great fly fishing. And this was when I was first getting into it, had no idea what I was doing. In my opinion, it's a lot easier than conventional fishing, just because conventional, there's so many different types of rods and reels and bait, and it's all plastic. And yeah, your hooks and your treble hooks. I was never about that. I did that when I was a kid. I just never, it's like math. I could just never grasp the concept of some of those baits. Like, I can't walk into a Cabela's and say, all right, these are the baits I need to go buy for bass. I would have no idea. No clue. But fly fishing, if you just learn the bugs, you can kind of, you have dry flies, nymphs, and then your like emergers and stuff like that. So if you learn the bugs, you kind of learn the flies. You just have to figure out the names, which takes some time.
Okay.
So it took me about a year and a half. So tippet, you basically have your leader, which is your main line that you attach to your fly line. And then tippet is what you use to either extend your line or to tie the flies together. So you have one fly and then you tie another, you tie tippet on. It's very similar to leader material, but there's different sizes.
Mhm.
because you don't want the fish to see your line.
Okay.
So when you're fishing in rivers and stuff, some water is dirty, some water is clear. So like there's a spot in Colorado, for example, it's by Strawberry Springs. It's in Steamboat, but you can only use 6X tippet. That's the size. There's 1X all the way to like 6X, I'm pretty sure is the smallest. Probably not correct, but I don't use anything smaller than 6X. I'm pretty sure that's the smallest. But the fish can see your line otherwise, unless you're using 6X. So you have to have like multiple different sizes of tippet depending on what waters you're fishing. So that's why I had the huge hunk of tippet.
Okay.
So I had like all my different sizes lined up. So that's my fly fishing background. And then your previous question was working remote. How do I have time for everything working remote in marketing?
Mhm.
So, I never went to school for marketing. My degree is a bachelor's degree in applied fire science as a fire specialist.
Mhm.
Used that degree for a little bit. And then I've kind of always been in the hunting industry, hunting and fishing industry in some way, shape, or form since I was like 16. So all those trade shows that people go to,
Yeah.
I started going to those when I was 15 or 16. So I was that nerdy girl with her braces, like walking around with her Fred Bear bow, meeting everyone and whatever. And I think this was the same time where Instagram first came out.
Mhm.
And like Facebook had been out for 4 years, but I wasn't on it yet. And Instagram was like just becoming a thing. So like that's how I ended up in marketing. I worked for like a food plot seed company for a while. I did a bunch of stuff with Tacticam when they like first started. Just some other like pro staffy things when that meant something.
Mhm.
I kind of just fell into it. So then I got into like website building, photography, videography. I've always done since high school. Social media management was a huge one. So I've been doing that for 14 years. And then I would like help with the trade shows, like set up the booth, tear it down, sell stuff. I did a lot of stuff in sales. So I kind of just always did that. Didn't have a degree, but I just had so many years of experience. That's how I ended up at Shields. And then I was working full time for so many different brands over the years. And then one day I'm like, you know what? I don't want to work for anybody else. I just want to work for myself. So then I started my own marketing agency, which is just me doing all of those things. So if somebody needs photo video work done, if somebody needs a website built, if somebody needs me to manage their social or just consult them on how to build their social, I do all of that. But as of June of last year, I do have a full-time job in marketing now with Pure Archery Group. So I actually manage all the brands, social, and like some of the creative and content direction for Bowtech, Diamond, Excalibur, Black Gold, Tight Spot, and Ripcord. Yes.
Nice.
So I've been doing that for since June of last year.
Okay.
So not a lot of people know that, but
Super cool.
that's who's behind those pages.
Love that. That's so cool. How did you get in with them? Like, how did that happen?
This is embarrassing.
Oh no, I
So
love.
a friend of mine that I used to work with at Huntwise,
Mhm.
are you familiar with that app at all?
Mhm.
It's kind of like Onyx.
Oh yeah, sure.
So when I left Shields, I got a job at Huntwise, which Joe was also associated with. So when him and I met on a mule deer hunt in Montana, we were like, he was associated with Huntwise, so he helped me get a job there. And then when I left there, because they got acquired and had a bunch of turnover, so naturally a bunch of people got laid off. So I went on LinkedIn and was like applying for jobs, and I think this was in 2023. I applied for a job at Pure Archery Group because they were looking for a social person. So I'm like, okay, so I sent in my application. Didn't hear anything back for months, kind of just forgot about it. And honestly, and this is embarrassing. This is the embarrassing part. I had no idea who Pure Archery Group was. I'm just like, oh, archery. Yeah, sounds great. Like I used to be a bow tech, used to work at Shields. I can do that. Didn't know that it was 6 brands. I didn't know what the brands were until they reached out to me in an email a couple months later and was like, hey, we want to bring you in for an interview. And then, of course, I did all my research. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is bigger than I thought. So I kind of fell into that because the manager that hired me was friends with somebody I used to work with at Huntwise.
Mm,
So networking, you just gotta know people, honestly.
that's
Meeting
how it
people,
works.
knowing people. Yep.
Yep, yep, yep.
At Hartung Taxidermy, we specialize in preserving memories of the hunt or the catch. Tyler can create lifelike, lasting memories that capture the essence of your experiences. What they offer? Custom taxidermy, specializing in turkeys to big game like bear, mountain lions, bobcats, and deer. We craft stunning pieces that showcase the unique characteristics of each animal. Why choose Hartung Taxidermy? Tyler is a skilled and passionate craftsman with years of experience. He creates detail oriented, lifelike creations that stand the test of time.
Also, affordable pricing and a commitment to the customer satisfaction. Bring your memories to life with Hartung Taxidermy. Contact them today to schedule a consultation. Call 715-416-4008 or visit him at Hartung Taxidermy on Facebook or Instagram.
Well, I want to circle back to Colorado because I'm actually looking, and this is creepy, I'm so sorry, but I'm looking in your background and I see a very special photo that people probably didn't notice until now I'm mentioning it. I want you to talk about that photo on your wall. And
Oh, this one.
yeah, that one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell us about it. I did my digging, obviously, and I know about it, and I want you to share that. It was one of the questions I was going to ask you, and then I saw the picture, and I'm like, oh, yeah. Tell
You've
us
been
about it.
there?
No, I haven't, but I'm guessing is that the picture with the big bull elk on the right-hand side?
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us that story about that elk and how you got involved with that and like all.
Okay. This is a special piece for multiple reasons. Okay, so when I went full time with my media business, Joe was the first person to purchase a print from me, and that's what he bought. Was like the biggest canvas print, which aren't cheap. They're not cheap. And that specific photo I took, so I'll move my so this specific photo I took in Rocky Mountain National Park. So I lived in Loveland. So I lived very, very close. I think I lived like what, 45 minutes to an hour from Estes Park. So Rocky Mountain National Park was like a second home for me. I fished there all the time. I had a special guide's license. Just because I fished there so often, I didn't have to pay the park pass every day. So this is actually one of my favorite spots in the whole world. I've shed hunted there, which I never keep them because you're not allowed to. There's actually a video on my social of this spot where I found a shed and the background is beautiful. So this is, gosh, what is that creek? Fern Creek, I think. It's like, I can't remember what part. It's the part of the park where you go up to Bear Lake. But instead of going straight, you can take a right and go down in there. And that's where all the elk usually hang out in the winter. And that's where they rut. That's where like you'll see them in velvet all the time. So this was actually one of my favorite spots. And I photographed this area when it was like hazy. There's a raven in the background flying around, which is Joe's favorite thing. He loves ravens. And this bull, his name was Big Kahuna. So in this photo, you can't really see him, but at the very bottom, there's the big elk with 40, his whole harem of cows. So there's like 40 cows. And I got him with his nose like right up her butt. It was really cool. I actually got a lot of photos of him. This was taken about a year and a half before he was killed in the park. And on top of that, like you'll never see this view ever again because there was a forest fire in the park that burned all of this in the back. So it's never going to look like that again. It's all burned. Like there was a huge fire that burned half of this off. And that bull died. So he was older. He was actually the king of Rocky Mountain National Park. He was the biggest one. He had like giant whale tails and his name was Big Kahuna. So I have a ton of photos of him over the years. I think one year he was rutting really, really hard and a mountain lion killed him.
Really?
And somebody that went into the park that was just like wandering around shed hunting found his carcass. I don't know what happened to the head. It did get, I think they left it there. So the parks, I hope that the parks people put it up, like did a Euro mount and put it up in the visitor building. I'm not 100% sure, but that's the story of that canvas.
I love it.
It's very cool.
Yeah, very special.
Oh yeah.
And if you have not been to her Instagram page, go and look because it is a stunning picture.
I don't even know if people want a copy of it, let me know because again, you'll never see that view ever again. And it's like such a pretty photo because you can see the mountains, the levels of mountains in the background.
Yeah, yeah.
There's actually another view that if you can see it from Loveland, it's from Lake Loveland. It's on the road going to Estes. And you can see all the mountains in the background and they're all hazy. And you can see the different like levels. That's where Hazy Mountain Media got its name.
Ah,
And that ended the brand. So Hazy Mountain is mine. So I have several businesses with this name. It's Hazy Mountain Productions, which is my marketing business. Hazy Mountain Media, which is the photo video side, but now they're connected.
mhm.
And then Hazy Mountain Treasures, which is my farm stand and bakery and holistic remedies of sorts.
Yeah.
And then Hazy Mountain Homestead, which is our homestead.
Love it.
That's where the Hazy Mountain came from.
All currently taking place in Michigan, soon to be taking place in Minnesota. Sounds great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, so tell us now about your extensive hunting elk. I'm assuming you were doing that out in Colorado. You did it for about 5 years. Maybe you're still doing it. Tell us how you got into that. Was it just because you moved to Colorado and you're like, yeah, I have the time, my 2 days off when you get your 2 days off between all of your weeks. But
Yeah.
tell us about elk hunting. That's a trip of a life, or like that's a hunt of a lifetime. So I'm
Oh
just
yeah.
curious how that felt to be doing it for so many years. And you shot a few of them, correct?
So I got lucky. I shot one state record bull. That was in 2019, 2020. No, 2021. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure it's 2021 where I shot my big bull. So I got started in elk hunting when I moved to Colorado. And that was after I turned down the firefighting job in Green Bay. Took my first job in Duchesne, Utah, technically, but I moved in. And this is what was weird, and I would never do this again. But a friend of a friend of a friend was looking for a roommate, and I always knew that I wanted to move out west. I knew I wanted to live in Colorado, but it was so expensive. So I moved to Colorado Springs with two total strangers because I needed somewhere to go. So I moved all my stuff to Colorado, was a roommate with these people because I'm like, yeah, I need really cheap rent because I'm never going to be here. I just need a place to put my stuff. So I moved in with them, and then after my first season out west, I came back and ended up moving closer to the mountains. I ended up moving to Georgetown with another roommate who was a game warden of that area. So another roommate situation because again, like there's no point in paying full rent for my own place when I'm never going to be there. So I found another roommate that was close to the mountains. So I moved in there. And he obviously knew where all the animals were because he's the game warden.
Yeah.
But he wasn't the greatest hunter either. So we were both learning together. So we both put in for that unit, which was a stupid good unit and something that you don't really draw often. So we both ended up with an elk and a mule deer tag. And we had 5 days, it was a rifle tag. So we had like 5 days to fill this tag. We came very close to shooting a mule deer a couple times just by following tracks. And I knew nothing. Okay. I knew nothing about mule deer and elk hunting. Colorado is very like the canopy is just very high, so there's just trees everywhere. So in a lot of states, a lot of people's tactic is to get on the top of a mountain in glass to try to find stuff. And yeah, you can do that in Colorado a little bit, but there's just so many trees and high canopy, like it's hard to do that.
Sure.
So we would just follow tracks in the snow, and I kicked up a giant mule deer one time, but he like bailed off before I could even comprehend what happened.
Yeah.
It was really fun. We didn't get anywhere near elk. And then a buddy of mine was in the area guiding somebody else and had just finished a mule deer hunt. So he came out for a couple days. We ended up at like 13.5 elevation because we knew where some elk were because I had been following them. This was like where I lived. So I knew kind of where the elk were. We ended up at like 13,500 feet. It was fourth rifle because that's the only time I could get a tag because it was after the time where I was laid off. So I could only get a tag in like late November, early December. We ended up finding a 7x7 giant bull. Would have scored 400 something and I missed. I ended up actually, my first elk hunting experience was like horrible because I missed like a giant bull, which would have been my first bull. For some reason, like the herd had split off and we didn't know. We didn't know it, but I knew it once we got closer because I saw tracks and I just didn't say anything because I thought they knew too because I thought they saw.
Yeah.
We ended up spooking him, and all the other elk are running. So when I shot at him, it was at like 400 yards. The bullet went under him and shot a cow in the head somehow. So I happily took my ticket from my roommate, paid it, and then thankfully I was able to keep my tag. We had to pack her out. And then the next day, we got on some little raghorn bulls, so like little baby bulls, and I shot one while he was bedded up against a tree. So that's when I got my first elk. And that was 2015. And then a year later, I didn't get one. So basically, after this, it was self-taught. Like I had to learn on my own.
Sure.
But I was so obsessed with it. Like between shed hunting, it was hard because I couldn't call very good. I didn't understand like the terrain in the mountains as well. Like now I understand it. Now it's like figure out where they winter, figure out what slope they're on because of what time of year they're trying to stay warm or cool. And now like I understand their habitat and what they eat, so like I kind of know where to go. They like the aspens, so I know to go there. They like acorns, so I know to go there. They like pine nuts, so I know to find like juniper trees and stuff like that in Utah. So like kind of started to figure them out, but it took me 5 years to do it.
Yeah.
I've still only ever killed three. And then me and a girlfriend of mine, I had a tag and I went solo hunting for a couple days
Mhm.
in 2020, 2021.
Tell us too, sorry to interrupt you, but tell
Oh,
us
you're
how are you tracking these deer? Like when you say you saw, I'm guessing you saw footprints in like the mud or
yeah.
something. Like what is another sign that they've been there?
Similar to whitetail, like rubs on trees, poop, fresh sign. Honestly, I have yet to kill a mule deer, so I'm not a great mule deer hunter at all. I don't know how people do it with a bow. No clue. Apparently, they're dumb during the rut. I have yet to experience this. To me, they're really hard. So I haven't killed a mule deer yet, but it is a little similar to whitetails, but they're not a very hardy animal. They're not very hardy at all. They're actually very sensitive to sickness, very say like a lot of people feed them corn and they shouldn't because a mule deer has a different stomach than a whitetail. They have a stomach similar to like I wouldn't say a sheep, but if a mule deer eats corn, their stomach blows up and they colic and die. Yeah, it's not great.
Crazy.
So don't feed mule deer corn.
Good
But
to
they're sensitive to like winter, so they get killed off. So the mule deer population is actually hurting really bad right now. But you can either find them at like high country altitudes at like 12,000, 13,000 feet or higher, or you'll find them similar to elk in like aspen stands or wherever the scrub oak trees are, which is super, super thick, but they're a lot lower.
Okay.
So you can glass them. But honestly, like one of the biggest tactics out west is to glass. Get up high and glass. That's like one of the best ways to find stuff. And mule deer are hard because they're bedded down, so you have to have really good glass to see them. Like they're very hard to see otherwise. So saguaros are going to be huge. Stabilized binos are going to be huge. A spotting scope is going to be huge for mule deer. Not so much elk because they're bigger. You know those little pretzel bites
Mhm.
that have like the light brown and the dark brown? That's what an elk butt looks like. So
Yeah.
they're easy to find. And it's just mostly just glassing or calling. So
Okay.
with mule deer, you need glass. With elk, the best way to find them is to call really well and they'll respond to you. So similar to turkey hunting. And then, so you're just trying to get closer and closer and closer. And then also to glass. So from what I've learned, those are the main ways to find and kill them. But
Gotcha.
if you're not finding them, you have to move somewhere else. So that elk hunt where I killed my big bull, I had a tag. I got really lucky on a first rifle tag. A buddy of mine gave me some tips on where to go. I didn't end up finding anything in those areas. Those were kind of like areas that were blocked off that I had to do some corner crossing, which wouldn't have worked out because it wasn't legal at the time. But I ended up finding, I was at like 12,500 feet for the first 3 days, and I only had 5 days to fill this tag because you only get a 5 day season.
Sure.
So a friend of mine ended up coming out from Montana just to help me out because I couldn't pack that thing out by myself. And funny thing, we'll get into this later. I'm allergic to ungulates, like all ungulates. I'm allergic to elk, antelope, cows, deer. I can't touch them. They're dander. I get hives, my face swells up, I get itchy eyes. I can't touch them until the skin comes off.
Really?
I had her come with me because I needed help. So she came with me. We were at super high elevations, didn't end up finding any. We found some old sign because they had just gotten a very light snowfall. Well, not so light, but their first snowfall, which is pretty rare for this time of year. So we were both kind of like looking on social media, and a couple other people had killed bulls in other states. And I just happened to notice that they were in sagebrush. So the area that we were hunting was like filled with other hunters. Like there's wall tents and all these crazy things everywhere. There's people everywhere. And her and I had just my little pop-up tent, which was not very warm, but we just moved around. So instead of staying up high, I was like, I think we need to go lower. We need to go down into mule deer country. And I
Mhm.
think there might be some bulls there.
Mhm.
So ended up going down lower, glassing, and I glassed up a bull that was laying by a tree, and it was like so far away, so I could barely see it. We ended up hiking all the way around, and I got within 30 yards of this thing with a rifle, and he was like right there, and I froze and like couldn't shoot. So it was bad. We stupidly dropped our packs thinking like, oh, we're just gonna go find him really quick, no big deal. So we were without food and water most of the day, and we finally got back to our packs and we had 1 day left. So the next day we get up early, stayed in the same area, and there was a creek that all these deer were coming out of. And I'm like, where are they coming from? So we get up high on this super tall cliff and we can kind of see where they're coming from. So we hiked all the way down, all the way back over, and we're like 5 miles from the truck at this point. So she goes back around. I'm like watching what's coming out of this creek, and she goes around the corner and like runs over to me and tells me to come here. So we went around and it's like this other valley that you just can't see. It's like so tucked in there. And there was a giant bull. Actually, what we saw was 3 cows and a raghorn bull. I was going to shoot the raghorn, the little guy. So we get over there, and I just happened to see a bigger bull coming out of the trees. But the little bull and the big bull were like teeter-tottering in between the trees. So she had to pay attention to which one was which, so I didn't shoot both of them.
Right.
So I ended up shooting the big one, had no clue how big it was. I was just like, legal bull, sounds great. Because I had antler restriction. So I shot him, put 3 bullets in him. He finally dropped. And I didn't know how big he was until I got up to him. And it was a 7x7. Huge. Like he ended up scoring 371 and an eighth.
Wow.
So very big body, huge body, had more neck meat than back straps. So we ended up, it took us like 6 hours to cut him up. And the meat bags were so heavy, we couldn't hang him up.
6 hours to cut him up?
Uh,
Oh my
she
God.
had to skin it by herself because I couldn't touch it.
Oh,
So then once the hide came off on one side, I helped her get the quarters off. And then we flipped him. She had to skin it by herself. Once the skin came off, then I could quarter the other side with her. And then we got the quarters all off, all the neck meat off, all the back straps off, all the tenderloins out. And it was dark by the time so it was 5:30 when I shot this bull. So literally last light, last day, 2 headlamps. That's probably why it took longer because we're doing it in the dark. So by the time we started hiking, it was like midnight. So we couldn't hang the bags because they were so heavy and there was like fresh bear poop. So I knew there was mountain lions in the area too. So I had to shove all the quarters in a corner and like take the head. You're not allowed to take the head first. You have to take the meat first. So I had to put logs on top of the meat bag so nothing could get to it. And so it would be really hard for any animal to drag stuff out. So we hiked out. This is where it gets funny. We finally got to the truck, stopped at a coffee shop the next morning, grabbed coffee and breakfast. And there was a little hippie guy in there, like hippie as hippie can be, right? Like very outdoorsy, but just a crunchy hippie guy.
yeah.
And he was inquiring about what we were doing. So we told him, he's like, I've always wanted to pack out an elk. And I'm like, well, do you have a pack? And he had like one of those backpacking packs, not with a frame or anything.
Yeah.
So we conned him into coming with us. And it was just her and I. So we packed out the rest of this bull. We ended up finding a way to park closer. That was like a mile and a half. His antlers were so big. Normally people point their antlers down. I had to put mine up because he was too big. I was like dragging on the ground. So I had to like hold the antlers from making me go like this. And I'm like small. And this bull is like 60, his head is 60 pounds. His antlers are huge. He was like 50 inches wide.
Oh my God.
It's insane. But it was myself, her, and this hippie guy packing out this elk, the rest of this elk. It was awesome. But that was like the last bull that I killed. Last year, Joe and I went to Colorado again, and I shot a bull twice, but didn't kill him.
Oh
So I took a frontal shot and another broadside shot, and he didn't die.
my
So
God.
that was a little traumatizing. That was my first. The other 2 bulls I killed was with a rifle. So I really wanted one with my bow, which is why I haven't killed one in a while because I've been strictly archery hunting. And Colorado has a very short season for archery. Montana has a different setup. But yeah, last year was hard.
Yeah.
It was hard. I had like target panic super bad, and I was like having a rough year. So I'm just like, screw this, picked up a crossbow and just killed everything with a crossbow the rest of the year.
Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do. You still gotta fill the freezer, right?
Yeah, and I had a mountain goat tag too that I drew, and I didn't get my goat either.
Ah,
So I burned all my points on a unit that I didn't know this ahead of time, but I guess they were trying to eradicate the mountain goats in that unit, and they did, but didn't tell anybody. So I burned like 8 points that took me 8 years on a unit that's crap.
that sucks.
I was so mad. I wrote them a nasty letter. But it is what it is. For anybody wanting to mountain goat hunt in Colorado, do not hunt in G15. Don't do
Nope.
it. It was funny though because we ended up finding like 40 goats 200 yards off my unit at the ski resort.
Oh my God.
So we're like watching them, knowing we can't shoot them. That sucked. We're just praying that they cross the road. All they had to do was cross the road, climb up the mountain, and they would be on my side. But
Dang.
that's life.
That's life.
So
It is. It is. And at least you got to experience the mountains again and be out there for another season.
yeah.
Sure, sure.
Yep. So I do it every year now. I do elk hunt every year now.
Okay.
So me and Joe are gonna go to Montana this year together. He kills a bull every year, which is super annoying. He never not fills a tag. So we're gonna go together this year. And if we don't get one archery season, we can still shoot one during rifle. So we're putting in for Wyoming antelope and mule deer. And then Montana, we're putting in for elk and mule deer. And then we're gonna do whitetail here. He's got a grizzly hunt in Alaska,
What?
which I'm nervous about.
It's amazing.
Yeah. He
Scary.
wants me to make his wedding ring out of the grizzly bear's bone. So that's my task.
Sweet.
Yeah. He
Huh.
won't wear a wedding ring unless it's made out of grizzly bone.
Well, okay.
So
That's cool. Tell me more. For some reason, I thought elk hunting, like, it took forever to get a tag. So you guys are just, he's killed one every year. How does he make that happen?
different states, and you have to, if you are really good at navigating the point system, you can elk hunt every year. But it's got to be in different states. You have to play the point system smart. You have to understand it. It's very complicated, very, very complicated. And that's where, there's tools out there like Go Hunt and Hunting Fool. We use both of them. We use Go Hunt every year. We use Hunting Fool every year. That basically gives you percentages on your chances of drawing. That's how I got my goat tag. But yeah, you got to just play the system. It is getting harder because the Western states are making it harder to get tags, and they're making non-resident, like for example, Colorado just got rid of over-the-counter elk tags.
Hmm.
Draw only now.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's getting harder. That's
Yeah.
for sure. It's sad because I don't want to not be able to hunt elks.
Right. Cool. Good to know. Actually, that's so funny that you say the Go Hunt. I actually just downloaded that app today and did the 7-day free trial just to see what it was all about because I don't know. I thought it'd be interesting to see like what's in there and what it all entails. But it seems pretty cool. And like you said, if you understand it and like can use the percentage to try
Yeah.
to.
Go Hunt's great because you can do e-scouting really easily on Go Hunt. You can see the different slopes. So in areas that you want to go hunt, you can kind of see where the north facing, south facing slopes are. So the topography shows up really well there. And you can even change like the colors. So you can change the filters to make, okay, like I only want to hunt north facing slopes. So it highlights only those areas in that range that you're hunting. Really great for e-scouting. Has other purposes too, but that's what I use it for the most.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I want to shift gears a little bit. You went to Cedar Island Lodge in
I
Pipe
did. I
with
got spoiled.
yeah, with Jesse Baker. I want to
Yeah.
we actually I just had we. Here I go again saying we like I've got a friend that does this podcast with me or something. I just had Jesse on the podcast and we talked from like her perspective of like being the host, right, for all these women coming in and like how it was like a little nerve-wracking to her too because she's never done a girls' weekend kind of like thing and whatever. I want to hear what it was like from your perspective going in as someone who doesn't have a like whole group of women that surrounds her with hunting and fishing and whatever close by you, and you're going the middle of nowhere, Pipestone, and you're gonna go fishing with women you don't know. Like, tell me about what that felt like. What made you take that step to go?
So at this time in my life, I needed a change. I needed to do something different because I was like under a lot of stress with work and, you know, I had just gotten laid off. My transmission just blew up in my car. Or actually, no, this was after Pipestone. This was on my way home from Pipestone. Anyways, I had like just lost my job because that was like during the big acquisition and the layoff. So I'm like, you know what? I need to do something for myself. And I had followed Jessie forever.
Yeah.
Um, so I saw that she was doing this women's trip for muskies. And I'm like, I grew up in Wisconsin. There's a lot of guys that muskie fish. And I thought it was stupid because I'm like, oh, I don't want to fish for something that takes 10,000 casts to catch. Like, that doesn't sound fun at all. Nor do I know anything about conventional fishing. Like, I would have no idea what baits to use or any of that stuff. I can't teach myself that. So I'm like, yeah, I'll just go up there and catch lake trout and walleye and maybe learn how to musky fish, whatever.
Yeah.
And I had been very hesitant on girls' trips because I had been on girls' trips before. And there was one that I loved that I went down to in Georgia like 2 years prior. that I loved. Otherwise, the other girls' trips are typically like super cliquey and like just people aren't who they seem online. And it's just kind of not always a good time, but it totally depends on the trip.
Yeah.
So I had one really good fishing trip in Georgia, and I'm like, okay, I really hope this one's good. It was very scary and nerve-wracking for sure. But I'm like, oh, maybe there's other girls up there that don't know how to musky fish, so I won't be the only one.
Right.
And at the time, I had learned, I had just gotten into predator fishing on the fly from Colorado. So a buddy of mine, we went out and went pike fishing and he caught one and I was like, "Oh, I really want to do this." And the flies are like this big. So I'm like, "Okay, I've got my pike flies and I went and bought a couple flies that I'm thinking are like going to be great for muskies, right? They're like this long and I bought my toothy leader and my like little metal leader. Get up to Pipestone. These girls have coolers and tackle boxes, like big ones. And one girl has her own boat and it's all girls. And I'm like, I did not bring enough food. I didn't bring enough snacks. So I'm like hitting the Quick Trip on the way up there, buying all the Quick Trip sandwiches and the donuts, like very not holistic, but I had no food. I didn't know.
Yeah, right. You're
I'm
doing
too spacey. All like I was not expecting it to be a group of like badass, musky, die-hard ladies. I'm like, dang.
musky girls don't mess around.
Oh, no, they don't. I was impressed. I was like, oh gosh, this
It
is
is
scary.
impressive.
And the women were awesome. Like this one of my favorite people from that trip, her name is Karen McTavish. Do you know her?
I don't
She's like this older woman, hippie lady with like dreads, and she's got like knuckle tattoos and she quilts.
stop. No, I did meet her. I met her,
She's the
she
best.
went on that trip. I had no
She
idea.
did. She
But yeah,
did.
I did meet her at the Muskie show in Minnesota a couple weekends ago.
Yeah, she lives in Duluth.
Okay.
Badass. She's
She
cool. She's my favorite. Um, there's another girl. Her name is Kayla. She lives in Wisconsin. She's a mail lady, like
Oh,
works for the post office.
I
Oh, you met her, Kayla.
love her.
Yeah, you met her. Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah.
It's just huge. Like, it's just crazy because it's like you would never think that these people these women would musky fish. Like, that's crazy. So I get up there, I don't know anything. And
Yeah.
they've got all their own gear, their own nets, their own bump boards, like all this stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have nothing. So I'm like hoping that I can use some of Jesse's stuff because we went out on day one and I had a huge pike snap my line and I'm like, that's it. That's the only leader I had for this whole trip. And he just ate all of it in one bite. So I'm like screwed. I have nothing. So I had to use one of Doug's, her husband's like insane leaders that is definitely not meant for fly fishing. And
Yeah.
everyone else is like casting 300 feet or like just forever far away because we're very far from the shore. So we were trolling, not like trolling, but we had a trolling motor and we were just basically skirt the shore all around these little islands looking for structure to fish on. And these girls are casting forever far away. And I'm like trying to cast with my fly rod. I'm trying to double haul like as far as they are. And I'm only getting like halfway there. So my arm is like trashed because I'm only fly fishing. And they're getting pissed at me, not pissed at me, but
Yeah.
like frustrated with me because they want to be on the front of the boat to cast, and I have to be on the front because I'm fly fishing. So
Yeah.
unless they have to get whipped in the head with one of my like huge flies, it was crazy, and I wish I would have been more prepared. So I ended up not using the fly rod. I used a rod that I borrowed from. It was a Thorne Brothers rod that I borrowed from Jesse. Karen gave me a bucktail, and Jesse loaned me some stuff. It was crazy, but I ended up catching a huge bass on the fly. I caught a nice pike on the fly, and then I caught three muskies that shook me. So I caught one on the eight, and I caught a huge pike on the eight, but he shook me. I was on the boat with Jesse and Sav when Sav caught a nice muskie, so I got a couple pictures of hers. It was cool. It was so much fun.
Oh.
And then I ended up catching muskies after the trip later in Wisconsin with a guide just to learn because there's not a lot of people that muskie fish in general. So I've taken something hard and made it even harder because I'm trying to do it on the fly rod.
Right.
there's like very few people that fly fish for muskies. There's even fewer women that fly fish for muskies.
Yeah.
So I'm like all in now. So I fly fish for them. I do conventional fish, and now I have a drift boat.
Love it.
So that trip kind of set the pace. It had its like stressful moments because again, like all the women are really good at it. They know what they're doing, and we fished with each other. So
Mhm.
like one day we would fish with one girl, the next day we'd fish in another, the next day we'd fish with Jesse. So it was Jesse did a good job of like splitting people up of okay, this person is skilled, let's put them with somebody who's not as skilled.
Yeah.
Then the next day, let's put two skilled people together and then two non-skilled people together. So she did a really good job balancing, like moving people around in different boats. And the boats were super easy to drive. So a lot of us didn't know how to drive, but it was easy to figure out.
Mhm.
Some of it was hard because one person would have to navigate the trolling motor and the motor while the other person fished. So it made it hard for two people to fish at the same time. Other than that, it went really, really well, in my opinion. It wasn't super clicky. Obviously, there's a lot of girls that already knew each other versus
Right.
girls who were the ones that knew each other were obviously wanting to fish together.
Right.
Um, I didn't go the second year, but I think she did a good job balancing them. I can definitely see how that would have been stressful. It was really fun.
Yeah.
But for her, that was probably stressful because she's got to make sure everybody's having fun and catching
Right.
fish and whatever. I think the trip was affordable. I would go every year. Me and Joe want to go, just him and I.
Yeah.
We're probably just gonna use her boat because it's easier. But she's got like boats there for rent.
Yeah.
Uh, it was a fun trip. And
Yeah.
then on the way home, so I drove there from Michigan. It was like 12 hours for me,
Oof.
but my transmission blew up in Chicago on the way home.
What did you do?
I pulled over. I got towed from a not English speaking person to the Ford dealership. My cousin came to get me because she lives in Illinois, like an hour and a half south. Joe had to rent a U-Haul trailer that he had to put behind the truck and then tow my car home. And then I sold my car to a mechanic for $1,000 and he parted it out. And
Oh,
then I bought a Ford Taurus or yeah, Ford Taurus after that for my grandma and had it for 6 months and then its transmission blew up. This had nothing to do with me. It's not my driving, I swear. It was just Ford CVT transmissions are trash. Now I have a Subaru Outback. Now we're golden. Now I can pull a boat. Now I can do all the things. But
yeah.
yeah, Joe got me a drift boat for my birthday last year.
Aw.
Oh, because I was sad that I don't fly fish anymore since I don't live in Colorado. So he's like, all right, we got us a drift boat. We're going to fish more. So now this year, we're going to steelhead fish, musky fish. I'm going to teach him how to musky fish. We're going to fish all over the lakes and little rivers up here in Michigan for trout and stuff.
Yeah.
Then come visit you and musky fish with you.
Yeah, come on over. I'm not,
I
I'm,
don't even know.
I know what I know, but Kyle knows a lot, so he can help us.
Yeah. There's muskies here. There's some lakes that they stock them in, and then Lake St. Clair obviously has them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love
we're
it.
gonna bring it. I just love it. I fell in love with it. Even just pike fishing for them, like if you can see that what gets me is like some people troll for them, that would be boring. Some
Mhm.
people fish using live bait. I think that's boring. I want to see that fish swimming right at me. And I want to see it like decide whether or not it wants my bait. I don't even care. I do care if it bites it, but like just watching it is awesome. And then doing the figure eight, it's like you're doing art and magic.
I
And
know.
like if it hits on the eight, that is just so exciting. It's awesome. To me, it's awesome.
Oh, there is
There's
nothing
nothing else
better.
like it. Nothing.
No,
Nothing.
nothing as good as catching a muskie, especially in the eight. Oh,
Yeah.
that feeling. Even if Kyle has a YouTube video or YouTube channel and records our trip up to Eagle Lake in Canada. And I
Mm.
caught two this year in the eight and not great form, but they ate. But
Net 'em?
I like, huh?
Did you net them?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we got a net. Oh yeah,
That's
we
good.
got him. But it was still like stressful because I get like nervous for some reason when they come. So like you can see it chasing in, and then as soon as they see the fish, I like forget what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, keep
That
going.
happens to me every time.
And I talked to someone this last weekend at the Wausau, Wisconsin Muskie show, and he was saying, and maybe this is common sense, but I didn't necessarily know this. He's like, whatever speed you like, if you start at this speed and you slowly increase your speed with muskies, you never slow it back down. Like, you always go that same speed. No bait fish running for its life or swimming for its life is ever going to slow down when they know that a predator is behind them. I'm like, oh, that's so true. That makes so much sense. And I think when I see the fish, I get like stunned. And I think I've even stopped in the past, like just been like, what do I
Yep.
do?
And with fly fishing, you have to like strip set like hard to really grab that hook in the side of their mouth. Like you have to strip set super hard.
Mhm.
So yeah, that happens to me every time too. And honestly, I think that's how I've lost them
Yeah.
is I slow down because I see them and then I get excited. And then
Right.
I'm like, oh, it's very different than trout fishing.
Oh, yeah.
Very different. Oh,
A
yeah.
one fish a day kind of thing. Like, if you're lucky, you get to see one fish and you're never prepared when the fish does show up. So you're like,
Oh,
holy shit.
yep. It's so exhilarating. I love it.
Yes.
And when you catch one, it's like, I don't know if you talk to the fish. I talk to them all the time, but I'll like apologize, like, I'm so sorry. Because you're like holding this thing. It's heavy and it's big and it's slippery. And you're trying to put it back in the water and hold its tail and like get it revived. And they're
Yeah,
such a sensitive little, like sensitive big fish.
they are. They are.
Yeah. They're all girls to me. Oh, she's so big. And
Oh,
like,
yeah. I caught
yeah.
it's almost 47 inches. It was like 46 and I don't even know, something. But I was like, I mean, I'm a small human too. I'm very short. I have very short wingspan. So I'm like holding this giant fish and I'm like, she's so beautiful. And Kyle's like, just come on, like hurry up. Let's go. We got to put her
Yeah.
back. Yeah, I love musky fishing. I feel like it definitely took time for me to love it. I think at first I like, I don't know, I'm also very much a hunter. And so while this musky fishing is kind of like hunting, it's, you're not seeing 20 big bucks walk through every day, right? But like, I just didn't love the monotony of like constantly casting these
Oh,
super
yeah.
heavy baits. And I'm just like, ugh. So I don't know. I love a bucktail. I love a topwater. Not into suic, but I don't know how to do it, so that's why I'm not
Are
good
you
at it.
talking about the top water, the little, the
Uh-huh.
bubbly ones?
Yeah.
I have a baby loon that does that.
Oh, it's
Top
my
water's fun. But I use bucktails too. Top water, bucktails, and flies.
yeah.
That's all I use. I don't know how to use suics or tubes either. That's
Uh,
a Jessie thing.
yeah, it's a Jesse thing. I'm not
That's a
Kyle's
Jessie.
really good with the two, but I just with the suics, but I just I don't know. It's a lot of work. And he's like, I'll do it. And I'm like, I swear to God, I'm doing exactly what you just showed me. And he's like, you're not though. And I'm like, oh, give me something else then.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's a lot of work. It's a lot of learning. And the bad thing is it's like right during the middle of hunting season.
No, I know. I know.
So we actually have a trip booked now. We went to a sports show in Grand Rapids. We have a trip booked with a guy on Lake St. Clair July 1st and 2nd, and then we're salmon fishing on July 3rd, which is my birthday. And then I want to try to do it. There was another women's trip coming up. I
Yeah.
emailed her to see if there's any spots available, but I don't think I got an email back.
Ooh, I will. I need to message Maria about it.
Do you know what trip I'm talking about?
Are you talking about the Grassy Narrows one?
I think so. Yeah, yep.
Jesse's working on it with Maria. I can't remember Maria's last name, but she works for Grassy Narrows. They're like combining it.
Are you going?
I am.
You are going.
Yeah, but I haven't signed up or anything. I probably should do that. But yeah, so I'll if I can get a plug into one of them, I'll let you know if I'll put your name in there so that they
Yeah,
know.
that'd be sweet because I want to do that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that'd be sweet if
Yeah,
you
it would just be cool. It's kind of growing up in Wisconsin. Obviously, Wisconsin's one of the best muskie states and Minnesota, but you just like living in Wisconsin, you just have everything right there.
Mhm.
And there's just so many women in Wisconsin that muskie fish. And I'm like, dang, I wish I would have known this when I lived there
Right.
because I could have been friends with these people
Mhm.
like high school, college. That would have been so fun.
Yeah.
And now I don't live there anymore, which I have no problem driving over there whatsoever. I'll take the ferry across. I don't care. Um, but like Green Bay was 30 minutes from my house and it has some of the best muskie fishing. One of my buddies that I used to bartend with, he muskie fishes and always invited me, and I just thought, again, it was stupid. So I
Mhm.
just never went. But he's actually fished with Jesse too. So I definitely want to do it a lot more
Yeah.
and with other people. So if I do, when I do make more friends, it's going to be through muskie fishing.
It is. It is. Those, yeah,
I
those,
will travel happily to go.
I'm the same way. I'll travel for anything. You want to do something? Sure. I'm game. Let's go.
Well, we have a cabin in the UP that we hunt in Escanaba,
Mhm.
and there's muskies up there too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's not far from Minnesota, so it's like right at the top. We'll just
Yeah.
sneak over.
Yeah, that'd be a
So,
blast.
yeah. There's another women's trip that they do that Jessica Suvak
Hmm.
does in Virginia. It's called like Virginia Trophy Guides or something. They always do it in February, so I actually missed it this year.
Okay.
That's another girls' trip down in Virginia.
Oh,
I'm
well.
pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's Virginia.
Okay.
Another really good one.
I'll have to look into that one. I'll have
They're
to,
fun. Like again, I don't usually do the women's trips on hunting or fishing trips, but these are way worth it.
yeah.
Like, the people that go are super awesome, super welcoming. No drama, no clickiness, in my opinion. At least not that I've experienced.
Yeah.
They're super fun.
Well, and kudos to you too, like knowing that it was, I mean, I know Jesse made it clear that like there's lake trout, there's other things that you could be fishing for, but like knowing that the majority of people were probably going for musky fishing up to Pipestone and you still went, that's cool.
And I spent money like again, it was affordable. I spent a lot of money going. I didn't even end up fishing for walleye and lake trout. I was just like, nope, I've seen a muskie now, tunnel vision. This is what I want to do. I need to catch one. I just want to catch one.
Yeah.
And when I get obsessive about stuff, it's game over.
Mhm.
Like I think after I got off that trip, I spent every weekend with guides like I need to catch one. I need to learn as much as I can. So I'm just like, here you go. Take my money.
Right?
Catch fish.
Help me.
I caught a couple nice ones, like really nice ones. One was huge. We caught him on live bait though, so it was fun, but not as fun. But I still have yet to catch one on the fly.
2025.
Yeah, musky fishing is very similar to tarpon fishing in my opinion. I caught a juvenile tarpon in Florida. Very similar. They're very sensitive fish as well, similar size. They fight similar. They got the bony jaws.
Well, okay, I was going to get into the holistic stuff, but I actually think I want to make people wait. And I want to have you back on this fall when you start canning stuff when the garden is coming out and we can talk a lot about like, and I think you're kind of going through a thing right now with the nervous system. So maybe we can talk more about like
Yeah,
what you actually get out of that towards
yeah,
the end of the
yeah,
summer.
yeah. I think that would be beneficial.
Yeah, I think so too. So make sure you're taking lots of detailed notes throughout this this summer so we can hear
I,
all about this.
I can do that. I might even be doing, I don't know for sure, but I've had a lot of people ask me to do a canning class. So I
Ooh,
might do like a canning class or something if I can figure out the logistics of it, of like how to do it, because it is lengthy. It's like a 2-day thing.
yeah.
So I
Even
don't know how I would do that virtually,
I was gonna say like a Zoom, like something like that.
something, but it would have to not have time limits because we would have to like start in the morning and then there would have to be a waiting period and then the next day we would have to do stuff. So I'm gonna have to figure out if there's something that I can that's just all in one day.
Or what you could do is you could just record yourself canning and like sell it, right? Like sell it as like a this is Lexi
I
Quinn.
haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah.
But we should definitely do a musky thing.
Yeah.
Hopefully that would be awesome.
Yeah, I did not know that you were interested in going. Yeah, that's so exciting. I don't know anyone else. Sarah Kozlowski from, I probably botch her name every time I say
Yep.
it. From-
Kozlowski. I think
Yeah,
that's how.
yeah,
Yep.
from Wisconsin. She's gonna go too. So, I know we were just gonna talk to Maria about like timing and whatnot. Because I know it's kind of like a lengthy one this time. It's like 5 or 6 days.
Sounds great.
So, yeah. So we're yeah, yeah. I'll keep you in the loop if I hear anything. But yeah, if you hear back from that email, let me know
Yeah,
too.
I've been wanting to meet Sarah anyway.
Yeah. Oh God, she's a gem. She is a gem. Oops. Yeah, she's such a kind person. But okay, back to my questions. We're gonna skip the holistic stuff and come to that in the
Okay.
summer or at the end of the summer, fall, when you're like canning stuff. We can hear all about that. But I have a few fun girly questions for you. And I'm doing it a little different than I typically do it. But sweet or salty?
Oh yeah, salty.
Salty. No
Yep.
sweet.
No, I'm a salty girl.
I'm a sweet girl. I literally, my inner, I hate to say this, this is so, it's kind of rude, I'm sorry, but like I have an inner fat girl who's like, give me chocolate. Like the girl off, is it a girl off of, is it Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory? Or is it a boy? Just like eating all the
I think
candy.
it's a boy.
It's a boy too. Yeah, that's me. That is
But
me.
still,
Don't.
like Miss Trunchbull's cake. I love chocolate, dark chocolate, but I do love like salty chips and salsa, popcorn. That's my jam.
Yeah, yeah. Cardio or weights?
Weights.
Yeah.
Cardio's lame.
Pizza or tacos?
Tacos, definitely.
Really?
Yeah, I'm a freak for tacos. Mexican food, oh man, I could eat tacos every day, every day.
That's
And
true.
like your typical Mexican tacos, like cilantro, onions, lime juice, and that's it. Like corn, tortillas,
Jam. I love that.
burrito, steak, chicken. Yeah.
I'm
But
literally allergic to
now I
dairy.
want tacos. Thank you. Thank you. I'm gonna go get tacos now. Yep, 100%.
Well, you deserve them. But I'm literally allergic to dairy and I would still choose pizza.
Oh, really?
Oh, I just,
Talk about that dairy thing, by the way.
oh, I love pizza. Why? It's just cheese and bread. That's why. It's
You need
terrible.
to do sourdough pizza with goat milk cheese. Goat cheese. You'll be fine.
Absolutely. Teach me
Goat's
how.
milk doesn't have lactose, I don't think.
Teach me how. You know what? Actually, that's funny. I told Kyle that we should get goats, and he's like, you need to stop. Stop reaching for other things. We don't need anything else. Okay. Five-star restaurant or dive Chinese buffet? Apparently, I was hungry when I made this list.
Definitely a five-star restaurant. Anytime me and Joe actually go out to eat, I have to pick like a 4.5, 5-star place. In my younger days, I would have said, my inner child would have said like dive bar Chinese place, but I'm not about eating cats, so I'm good.
Oh my
I'm good.
God. It's so bad. That is so, so bad. Fave animal to hunt.
Oh man,
Gotta pick one. Can't do anything else. This is the last animal you can shoot.
elk for sure.
Yeah, I mean, how can you pass that up? I can't imagine. I've never done it, but I'm sure it's phenomenal.
Elk for sure. I could do that all day, every day. It's hard. It's very hard. They're heavy, but I love it. You got to embrace the suck.
Just stock and spot.
Favorite saying, by the way, for anything that's hard, anything Western hunting related, embrace the suck.
I like it.
Yep, that was a fire saying that we had to like live by. The only thing that gets you through.
Right. Makes sense. It's tough. It's a lot of tough work. Last question. What's your go-to accessory of choice? You're going out for that five-star dinner. What are you tossing on?
Something gold, gold earrings, gold necklace. I'm a vintage girly, so I have a lot of vintage jewelry. It's all gold. I'm like an old fashioned. I love my vintage things. My whole house is like vintage.
Oh, I love it.
Yep.
Vintage, rustic. Okay, actually, I lie. I have one more question because I have to know. Did you do anything with the horns? What did you do with the horns from your bowl?
I got a Euro mount.
Yeah.
A shoulder mount was too expensive, and we botched the hide pretty bad because it was dark. So I'm actually waiting to buy a hide that looks like the bull that I shot, a very yellow one. Once I do, I'm gonna shoulder mount it. It's
Okay.
gonna be like $1,800, and we need a bigger house first, so I'm gonna wait. When Joe shoots his big bull, we'll mount them together, shoulder mounts, where like his and hers. But we need taller ceilings first. But I did do something with the ivories of my bowl. I got a ring made that I'm actually waiting in the mail for. And I got turquoise earrings, turquoise and ivory earrings made out of my first bowl. And then Joe gave me his ivories from his elk that I'm turning into jewelry for our wedding. So I'll have gold ivory earrings and a gold ivory necklace. Super expensive because gold's expensive now. But that's going to be my jewelry pieces that I'll wear all the time anyways. and I can pass it down, but they're his ivories.
Oh,
So elk ivory jewelry is awesome. You would definitely have to go to a person that's really good at it because I have not had the greatest experience getting pieces made. But I do have like 2 or 3 people on my list now that are really good at making the jewelry.
yeah.
That I can give you links for people who listen to this.
Yeah, fun. I love that. I was gonna ask another question and I forget what it was. Oh, when are you getting married?
June of 2026 in Glacier.
Oh,
Yep. So we're
fun.
gonna do a small wedding there and a reception back in Michigan where all of our family and everybody can come. But we're gonna do like a small elopement micro wedding in Glacier.
Yeah,
The wedding planning is going very slow.
yeah. Well, you've got
But
time.
well, I found my dress. That's about as far as we got.
You've got
My
a
dress, and I found somebody to make his ring, and that's about as far as we've got. We still need a photographer, videographer, an Airbnb. My mother-in-law is going to do the charcuterie board at the reception. We're going to cook our own food. So I'm going to do all the desserts, and we're just going to cook a bunch of wild game for everybody. And it's just going to be a big party. So no DJ, no dance floor, maybe a dance floor, but like Spotify,
yeah,
dance floor, canoes full of drinks, a fire, and just hang out
yeah.
like a fun reception. And
Yes.
then our wedding will be Airbnb. It's actually cool because we're gonna do a wedding film that's a hunting film. So it's not like your typical wedding film. We're going on a hunt this year with some of the Kafaru guys. We're going on a bear and turkey hunt in May this year to Montana. So we're gonna have some of that filmed, some of our elk hunt filmed, and then we're gonna combine that footage and have like a wedding slash hunting film, which
Oh,
so far I haven't seen anybody else do yet.
no, how fun.
So
That's super
he's like
great.
he's like the poster child for Cabarro, so it's only fitting that we do a hunting film for our wedding.
Love it. Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. Tell everyone where they can find you.
Probably on Instagram under miss.holistichunter, and you'll find all my other handles linked off of that.
They're beautifully laid out.
Yeah, that's only like 3 of the 6. But yeah,
She's a wild woman.
I have too many, and I do social media for a living, so my personal social media sucks, but that's what you get.
She's busy doing everyone
I'm
else's.
like a mechanic. I like working on my own stuff.
Right. Awesome. Well, Lexi, thank you for your time, and we'll see you at the
Yeah.
end of summer.
Thank you for having me on, and I hope to see you at the retreat, definitely.
Yeah,
Need
absolutely.
to catch muskies now.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna go get tacos. Definitely going to get tacos, by the way. I hope you know this.
I hope you do, and I want to see a picture of what you
So
get.
I'll send it to
I
you.
will not go have pizza because I'm allergic and shouldn't. So, all right. Thanks, everyone. We will see you next time.
NetBuddy. Products that are innovative, allow any angler to be self-sufficient on the water, assist with resource preservation, and help keep your expensive gear safe. Matt's Muskie Buddy is arguably the most innovative tool to hit the muskie industry in the last 10 years. Whether it's a track, rail, or transom mount your boat requires, the Muskie Buddy secures your net to the side of your boat after a muskie or other large fish species is caught, keeping the fish in the water while you grab your release tools, get your bump board ready, and camera. Talk about peace of mind. Knowing your trophy is less stressed and ready to release to grow even bigger, you can attach the Muskie Buddy to any net and any boat. However, if you really feel like diving in, grab the Muskie Buddy net, which has the Muskie Buddy puck integrated into the yoke. This net uses the highest grade aluminum available in the muskie net market and has been designed with a thoughtful and heavy-duty design to ensure it can keep your trophy secure for years to come. This net is available in 2 sizes and features a coated 45-inch deep bag to help keep your trophy in the water regardless of the boat you own. If muskies aren't your thing, check out their neoprene rod, graph, and transducer covers to help keep your investments safe. Regardless of your fish species flavor, you can help support innovation, resource preservation, and quality products by checking out their website at thenetbuddy.com.